Welcome to the Burrillville School Committee, January 8th, 2019, 6:30 p.m. regular session, Burrillville High School Media Center, 425 East Avenue, Harrisville, Rhode Island. Members present? All. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 2, recognition. None this evening. Item 3, consent agenda, approval of minutes, warrants and invoices, bids.
Well, Mr. Chair, motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting, December 11th, executive meeting, December 11th, and the special meeting, December 19th, and approval of warrant number 6 for the month of December, dated January 8th, in the amount of $3,072,094.43. And I'd like to note there are no bids, and also a correction in all 3 of the meeting, that my name was eliminated from the attendance list by accident. I was present at all the meetings, so I'd like that just noted as a corrected.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. No problem.
Next item, presentations by the public to the school committee. Having none this evening, item 5, public comment. Anyone wishing to speak this evening?
Just curious who the 21st president is.
I take that as a no. Item 6, personnel, appointments, leaves of absence, retirements, resignations.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to accept the leave of absence for Dr. David Alber, Vice Principal, Burrillville High School, effective January 9th, 2019, and Ashley Crincera, Mathematics, Burrillville High School, effective January 30th, 2019. And I also make a motion for the appointments of Dr. David Alber, Interim Director, Pupil Personnel Services, January 9th, 2019 through 6/30/2019, and Ashley Crincera, Interim Assistant Principal, Burrillville High School, 1/30/2020 through the end of the school year.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Mr. Chair, I make a motion for the athletic appointments for Burrillville High School 2018-19. Nicholas Harriman, Girls Hockey Coach, Assistant Coach, Burrillville High School, 2013 plus $100 longevity. Rachel Solham, Chair, Team BHS, volunteer, and pending receipt of BCI paperwork for Jordan LaFerriere, Boys Basketball Assistant Coach, Burrillville Middle School, $1,144, and pending receipt of BCI for Nicholas Sherman, Boys Basketball Head Coach, Burrillville Middle School, $1,430.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next item, fiscal year 19 DSD budget update.
Motion to open.
Second.
A motion to open in a second. If no one has any questions, I'll accept the motion to receive and file.
Motion to receive and file.
Second.
Motion to second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Fiscal year 19 rink budget update.
Motion to open.
Second.
Motion open in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. If no one has any questions, I'll accept the motion to receive and file.
Motion
So
to
moved.
receive. Yeah.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Item 8, Superintendent's Report.
Motion to open?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you, Chair Broussard. Just a couple of things in my report this month. I'm going to start with our promotional work from Martin & Associates, which is our company that we've hired to promote our CTE programs here at the high school. They've developed one-page flyers for each of our right-approved CTE programs that I forwarded to each committee member in my Friday memo. We're going to utilize these as part of our campaign to promote our outstanding CTE programs to our middle school as well as to neighboring districts. In addition to the promotional materials and the flyers and the brochure, they've also developed 4 promotional videos, starting with an overview and then one video for each of our 3 CTE programs. Those were hot off the presses, were sent to us yesterday afternoon about 4 o'clock. So I'd like to screen those for the committee now. Justin has them queued up and ready to go.
I think the overriding goal for the programs at Burrillville High School are to create a student-centered experience that utilizes the latest technology from the field, that brings in experts to work with students, to make connections, and give students every opportunity to achieve their post-secondary goals. They can take the skills and go into a trade school, go into a 2-year college, 4-year college, or the world of work. Our approach has been to structure programs so that they replicate what happens in the field. And so they go out and they apply the skills that they've learned in the classroom. Students have the opportunity to take as many pathways as they can fit into their schedule, as long as they meet graduation requirements. We also have tried to embed some flexibility for students where if they want to try a course, we encourage them to try a particular course or a pathway so that they can get that exposure to find out if they like it.
The school and its pathways are awesome. There's a whole bunch of different things that you could try, and there's always something for everyone.
They have the teacher that stands in front of the class for some of it. There is the hands-on, there is group work. It's all around. You're going to find how you like learning. You have other kids around you to help you. There's many ways of learning this information, and that's why, this program is so great.
I had one teacher explain it to me like, you get a picture of the universe, putting all this information together, and just having that knowledge in general just helps me every day. Like, I think about the things that I learn just walking down the street every day.
You can get college credits if you work with it, and it really will help you in the future if you need it. I was right on board. It was right exactly what I wanted. It gave me college credits, it gave me the opportunity to work hands-on, it gave me the ability to keep doing what I enjoy doing in high school. And I didn't have to go somewhere else, like a trade school, tech school, anywhere. I could come here to the town that I live at. It makes it very accessible for everyone.
This is a great school. The community is absolutely tight. We help each other in every way we can. And I feel like, the person that kind of educated me about this program kind of led me to where my success is today. Because they told me about how it was hands-on, and I got into class and I've excelled since.
We're very open to new kids. I'm a 12th grader, and I love seeing new kids come. I'm the first one to walk up to them and say hi. So we're all friendly here.
That's great. That was great. Like to hear our students talk that way.
Yep. So the next videos are about each specific CTE pathway.
Sorry.
We're doing some pretty awesome things here. The Project Lead the Way Engineering Pathway at Burrillville High School sets students up in year 1 to learn about what it's like to be an engineer. In year 2, they learn about really why things work, and math proves that, and then they build and test the math with hands-on activities. In year 3 of the engineering pathway, students will be in a class called SIM. It is Computer Integrated Manufacturing, and what the students will be doing is they'll be using CNC mills. They'll be generating G-code to program those mills. They'll be cutting wood. They'll be cutting metal on them. They use the industry standard software SolidWorks to design. Students also program robots. It's heavy in the automation.
You really have fun doing it. You get a lot of hands-on work with those things that are important to engineering in the future.
The robotics program started in 2006-07, and since then we've won 11 state titles. Year after year I have former team that want to come back and mentor and help out because of what the team has meant for them.
We really appreciate having all of this equipment because it helps us actually visualize what we are learning, and like it helps us be more hands-on to have a better understanding.
We look at how it works and then we use it. So instead of just looking at a resistor and measuring its resistance, we take it and put it in a circuit, and we built a car that drives small scale. But we built a little drag racer to see how far it could go on solar power, and that's something that we never got to do in other classes.
My favorite part about the pathway would have to be the ability to earn college credits for engineering on top of being able to just convert those to gen eds if I wanted to get those out of the way. I get an understanding for the college class that I will be taking in any college, while also being able to get rid of the gen eds that I wouldn't want to be taking. That's huge for me.
Through this pathway, it's proven that this is something that I definitely want to study.
I really feel that even if you aren't going into an engineering pathway in college, this class does help because it gives you a glimpse of the real world, and it kind of lets you try something new and different to help you figure out what you want to do. Because if you don't know what you want to do, you can still take a lot of the skills that you learn from this class and apply them to anything that you might end up doing in the future.
Very nice.
That is so super.
Love it.
It's great to hear students talking about how they feel about their education.
The construction pathway is very important to students. I want to give them the best set of tools that they can to get the best job they can make. I don't want students just being hired for, minimum wage. I want them making unionized jobs. I want soft skills. I want them to know that they have to be at the job early. They have to be on time. What an employer is going to require of these students. Construction 1, all students are trained in OSHA 10, receive an OSHA 10 certification. We maximize it though. We don't just let the kids come in and participate. They actually have to pass an exam to get their OSHA 10 card.
OSHA 10 helps you know all the basics. So having OSHA 10, you can go straight into the workforce. It's very expensive to get it outside of school. It was free for us, so that's another thing that the school's helping with you a lot.
By the time they get into Construction 3, we want the students to do more project planning, where the students actually start going out and quoting smaller jobs. They're responsible for some type of community project, whether it's helping a disabled vet with building a chicken coop or building a shed for one of the local schools or departments. The one thing we care about the most is the students are not building stuff for themselves. They're building stuff for our communities and the local communities. And actually, they actually go in Rhode Island, Mass, and Connecticut. They've actually helped people out.
When I first arrived here, I knew just about nothing about any of the tools in here, and through my 3 years of learning, I now pretty much know how to operate these machines like the back of my hand. I can fix them, and I know how to use them safely.
We have our dust collector that collects all the dust immediately after you cut something, along with the spray room. When you spray painting or anything painting-wise, you do it in that room specifically. That way no fumes or anything is spread around the school.
My favorite part about the pathway is just not only just building stuff, but the atmosphere in the classroom as well. Everybody's on the same level. There's most definitely a teamwork aspect, and it's more individualized learning as well.
My post-high school goals is to take over my dad's construction company, and since I already know everything, I won't have to spend the next 2 to 3 years learning everything from the basics.
I'm sure like if there's ever things I want to improve at my house, instead of having to pay someone to come do it, I know and I have the confidence in myself on how I can fix it, or different strategies to help even other people.
Giving them the skills that they need to enter the workforce in a very well-paying job is what I've been trying to do for the last 20 years here at Burrillville.
Fantastic.
This environmental science pathway is important for the students to learn about the climate, how it affects our economy and ecology around us, and how they can adapt and help out. Environmental science part 1, hopefully they'll gain knowledge on how to landscape, how to look at the soil samples, how to determine what's needed to correct the soil samples. Environmental science 2 is more of an inquiry-based class where they learn engineering skills, build in alternative energy systems. And environmental 3 is a project-based class where they explore larger projects. We go to Save the Bay, we go on the ocean, we do water testing, we partner up with DEM, we go down to their trout hatchery, we learn how they raise trout. DEM comes to the school, they provide funding for soil sampling. We've created a community garden out back. The goal for the environmental science pathway is to allow the students to have field experience, hands-on activities, gain engineering and problem-solving skills, and they hopefully can apply it to multiple fields when they go on to college.
I chose this pathway because I had heard through a couple people that have already taken it that it was a very hands-on thing, and I'm very much a hands-on learner. I can process it, and I'm better with the information. Here I've excelled.
It's not a bunch of tests or quizzes. You talk with the teacher right there, then and there if you don't understand something, and you also get to do a bunch of projects.
The collaboration definitely helps. It's usually a group effort. We get to work in partners or teams. A lot of the time somebody has one good idea and somebody else has another, and it's cool when you get to kind of cross the ideas and make something even better than what you thought of in the first place. It's cool to be able to come up with a plan and then execute it in real life.
All the projects about how we clean up our environment and what we can do to better our environment, so it's just interesting facts to learn. This pathway kind of just directs you in a field that you want to go. They offer plenty of internships if you want to pursue a career in environmental science.
You gotta give it a shot, because you're gonna understand it, I promise. I'm not the only one that I've talked to that you're a hands-on learner, you learn. I have friends in my class that were in the same position as me. They took this as I'm just gonna take a science class because I need to graduate, and then they're like, oh, I love this. This is awesome.
Very nice.
So as you can see from the videos, it's a substantial amount of work that went into those, working with Martin and Associates. I want to also commend Dr. Whaley and the high school administration and the teachers for all their hard work, and the kids. You know, the kids' voice in those videos certainly comes through loud and clear, and that's really what it's all about. So our plan with those videos really now is to flood social media with those.
Wonderful.
So that people see those, people know, what we offer here at Burrillville High School, and then to use them to promote our programs, not just to outside in neighboring districts, but to kids here in Burrillville as well. You know, at the middle school, videos will be shown to our middle school students, and even bringing a lot of what's happening here at the high school down to the elementary school, and trying to create that K-12 articulation that's seamless from one school to the next. So this is really the first step in a long road, but very encouraged by the work so far, and I certainly think we're heading in the right direction.
Do we ever utilize the kids at all? Like, I know Chris has does work over at the rink with building and stuff. Do we ever utilize the kids to help with that? And, you know, when he's building locker rooms?
Well, I know they did with the girls' locker room. I know they helped Mr. Lacy out quite a bit. And they're with the construction management, they absolutely do projects in town that Mr. Stockwell works with the community to do programs. I know he built a storage shed at one of the, at Levy, and they built a chicken coop, I think, for someone in town, a disabled vet in town, I think it was last year.
With me, they, over at the field house, they built all the lockers that we installed. That was before your time.
Eccleston Fieldhouse?
Eccleston. The field house over at the Callahan Field, football and baseball.
Oh, right, yep.
And they also helped me with over at the boiler room, taking the boilers out, we reframed it in to put a garage door and some vents. So, yeah, it's nice to be able, especially for me over the rink that I'm by myself during the day, to be able to go pull them out of their construction class and help me build things. So I think it's a great thing.
I think it's great, too.
They present at the home show, I think, as well. They have a booth at the home show every year, too.
That's
You know,
great.
to see something like this and talk with a parent who's concerned about their child's education and, well, he doesn't really, or she doesn't really want to go to college, and I'll say, well, there's other courses that they can take in high school. Not only do they have to take their regular courses and get their credits, but there are pathway courses that they can take. And this proves, this, by flooding the media with this, the social media, our website, I think that parents, encourage parents, let them know that they can go online now and see for themselves exactly what is going on. Not only do we educate, but we keep our kids safe. They're safe in these classes, and they're well educated. They're prepared for their future, and that's what we're doing. And that's a wonderful thing.
I agree.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Well, thank you.
You know, we're competing with other schools and school systems. Are we kind of jumping ahead of them with this presentation?
Well, some districts, yes, and some districts, no. Honestly, there are districts that are far ahead of where we are, and there are districts that are behind where we are. I think the big piece that was missing here was the promotional piece. The pathway programs, I mean, these are just the 3 approved pathways. There's several other pathways that are not right approved, but are just as valid and just as successful here. You know, the child care and the biomedical program and those pathways as well, and we're working towards getting those approved next year or the year after. But no one really knows about them, other than, you know, kids that are here and parents that are here at the high school. So I think we've got to promote it to our own kids here in town, and then promote it to neighboring towns as well.
Absolutely, so that students, excuse me, so that students who do not have that available in their own school district can, in fact, come here, and
That it's an option, sure.
it'll be an option for them. That's wonderful.
You know, I think about the that'll help. I think it'll help so much with keeping these kids in school, because a lot of them, when, like you said, they're not college bound and they know they're not, or they don't want to be. It's a way to keep them in school, give them a trade. I think it's wonderful.
Between sports and these pathways, it keeps our students in school.
Yep.
The sports keep them active and busy, and they love it, and they come to school and they do their work. Doing these pathway, these technical things, they love it, so they come to school. So they're involved in the educational program from top to bottom. It's a wonderful, wonderful way to go.
I agree.
It keeps the graduation rate rising.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Will we be doing a plumbing one? They're making $160 an hour right now.
Really? Or electrician?
Yeah, they certainly are.
Find one.
Yeah, it's, I know the trades are difficult. The regulations from the Department of Ed are very prescriptive on what can be approved and what's not approved. So we're hoping next year to have 4 additional programs that we're applying for be approved. That's the child care program, business, biomedical, and computer science.
Perfect. Technology, very important.
Okay, just moving on to my report, I wanted to give you an update on our Spark grants. Very happy to announce we've received 5 Spark grants from the Rhode Island Foundation. These grants can be up to $1,000 to be used in elementary schools in class. 3 of those grants will be used to purchase VEX robotics kits at Stair Farm Elementary and at Callahan. And plans are to offer an after-school robotics club for students beginning in late February. Clubs will last for several weeks, and then we're hoping at the conclusion of those clubs to hold a district-wide robotics night at the high school. And students will compete with their robots, completing various tasks. The various clubs that assemble their robots will have a contest that will mirror in some ways the state robotics contest. And during that event, we want to, at the same time, kind of run an open house where our high school and middle school programs will have booths set up so parents can see some of the work that our kids are doing.
Perfect.
So that's, again, the same, very similar direction as the CTE flyers and videos, but a different path to get there. So step 1 is getting the funding for those robotics kits, and step 2 will be to get those kits and those clubs up and running. We're waiting till late February so that the high school robotics club, their big state contest is February 9th. So once that's over in mid to late February, those kids should be available to help out with the elementary kids. Any questions on the Spark grants of the robotics club?
Do you anticipate a great amount of students who would want to do this after school?
Well, we're going to ask the high school robotics team and the middle school robotics team to do a presentation at each school and bring their robots with them. And I think after the kids see the robots, yes, I think there'll be some excitement about that, yeah. They're actually, they'll be at Levy on Friday for High Five Fridays, the robotics team. And there's also a High Five Friday at Stair Farm. I think it's volleyball, maybe.
You know, I've heard some students in the morning when I go to the diner for breakfast. Students will come in early, because I go very early. They come in early and have breakfast, and I've heard them talk about the High Five program. They love doing that.
That's great to hear.
They love doing that, and they have talked about some of the things that they do in their special classes, they call them. They don't call them pathway classes, they call them special classes. And it's amazing. They get to talking about, they did this, they did that, and they laugh about this, and they laugh about that. And I'm thinking, wow, these kids are enjoying school. Yes.
That's what it's all about, for sure. Last item on my report. Last week, a question came up regarding school committee members having access cards to schools, prompted me to reach out to our legal counsel for some insight. I contacted Attorney Scunzio, and he informed me that he knows of no other school district that provides access keys or access cards to school committee members. He said that it may bring up liability issues since each building contains confidential records and access to students. He also confirmed that committee members do not need BCI forms on file unless they're volunteering for a specific event. In that case, the district volunteer protocol would be followed as it is for any other volunteer. So we have a few options to consider, and I just wanted to open this up to the committee for discussion. We can keep things as they stand right now. As you know, all school committee members have access cards, which allows them access into any school building. We can require school committee members to have BCI forms on file, since their access cards allow them access into school where obviously there are kids. I don't recommend that. And then the third option would be to limit the access card access to the central office building only, which would allow school committee members, if there's a meeting at central office or if there's any business at central office, to access that building. All confidential records are kept behind locked doors, so there's be no confidentiality issues and no access to students. So that would be my recommendation, but certainly can open it up for a discussion and take whatever direction the committee would like to go as far as the access cards go.
Anyone?
I would make that a motion, your recommendation.
I'll second that.
A motion, a second. Further discussion? Having none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I would like to be clear that the motion that you are talking about is to just have the access cards used for the central office. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Have to get your card back.
Yeah.
Thank you. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for the superintendent? Having none, we'll move on. Number 9, administrators' reports.
Mr. Chair, motion to receive and file with a thank you to all administrators, to our staff, to our students, for all the great educational information, arts, sports, and other great projects presented in all the reports. It is fantastic to go through these reports, see the artwork that the kids do, to hear from our administrators the wonderful work that they are accomplishing and getting done in our district. A big, big thank you. Congratulations. And also a congratulations to Mr. Lacy for being appointed. He was elected as a trustee of the Rhode Island Association of School Maintenance Directors.
That was Bill.
Bill, I'm sorry.
Anyone else?
Congratulations to you. That's a great honor.
Do you have something else?
Just have a comment.
Alex has a comment?
Just to build off of what Dot said, I know I sound like a broken record, but I just want to thank the admin teams for their new lists of what they're accomplishing every single month. I think what I noticed last month and this month is they list all the meetings they attend, you know, all the duties they have, but I also find it amazing how many after-school activities they attend. Some of the things listed within their lists, such as going shopping for families around the holidays, for some of the charity events our schools are doing, attending dances, etc. I think that just shows how amazing our admin team is collectively, so thank you.
Anyone else? Having none, I have a motion and a second, I think.
We don't have a second.
Okay.
Second?
No, I do. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Item 10, reports of school committee subcommittees. If anyone is attending their SIT team that you have for your subcommittee list, if you're on a SIT team or anything at all to do with your appointment on your subcommittee, feel free to open it up and give us a highlight of it or an update on it at any time. We may have nothing right now, just through the holidays, but in the future, we'd like to try to get some comments from the subcommittees. Great.
I have two.
Okay.
BPAC, the Burrillville Prevention Action Coalition, is meeting tomorrow at 5 p.m. at the police department. And then the middle school SIP meeting, I believe, is next week at 2:30 at the middle school. I want to say it's the 15th.
Okay, thank you. Item 11, correspondence, communications. Don?
Just one thing, I get to attend. I was invited, and I have the time to do it, so I'll be at the High Five on Friday at Steer Farm. Looking forward to that. It's very exciting, I hear, so.
Awesome. Thank you. Item 12, new business. P3509 graduation policy, revised first edition.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to accept policy P3509, graduation policy, revised first reading, and dispense with reading.
I'll entertain a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Having none, all in favor?
Aye.
That discussion?
Yes.
Sylvia?
I would like to see this go to the policy committee, so that the policy committee can at least look at it. I mean, we're just getting this only a couple of days ago, so.
Okay, so this started a little while back.
So the graduation requirements policy that is currently in place was adopted in 2010, and it's vastly out of date. It has not kept up with the RIDE requirements that have changed several times since 2010. And I know that the work on this started probably a full year or so ago with preliminary talks, and there has been some considerable amount of work. I don't know if Mrs. May wants to mention anything about who was on that committee, but it was quite a large committee, and there is a summary list of changes. The major changes that are addressed are really updating outdated language, removing things that no longer apply, such as kneecap testing, which hasn't been used for a while, state assessment proficiency, which is no longer required. I don't have any objections to forwarding it to the policy committee. I just don't want to see this pushed off too far because it does require 2 readings. We want to get this in place as soon as possible.
Is it possible to get people on the policy committee to these meetings so that it's done at that time?
We had that conversation
Yeah.
this morning.
No.
Yeah, I can make sure that policy committee members are invited whenever there's internal policy meetings to discuss current policy revisions and things like that. Sure.
Well, we would, at our meetings that we have with the Rhode Island Association of School Committees, we were told we had two jobs. One is to make policy, and the other one is to hire the superintendent.
Correct.
So is that a motion, that this be referred to the policy subcommittee?
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that this is referred to the policy subcommittee for these 2 particular items, and that the policy subcommittee be invited to the admin discussions about.
Okay, so we'll do one at a time.
policies. Okay.
Okay, so we'll do this one first. So I have a motion, I need a second, and then we can have discussion.
Well, I made a motion to
Still a motion on the table.
approve
Yeah,
policy,
still a
Okay.
motion on the
revised
table.
meeting, and dispense with the reading.
Okay, would you consider taking back your motion?
I'll withdraw.
Withdraw your motion. Thank you.
You withdraw as well, Alex?
Mm-hmm.
Withdraw your second, Alex?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
And that this new motion be to refer this to the policy subcommittee?
Okay,
Second.
and a second. Okay, now we have discussion. Alex?
Just thinking out loud, because we have to do 2 readings anyway, can we accept the first reading and then within the next month, the policy subcommittee be able to look over it and make any suggestions that they see fit? Would that be, just so we don't, like Dr. Salito said, we don't push it on the back burner at all? Just because I feel like if we have outdated language in a policy as important as this one, I feel like we should have something that's new and updated on the
I
table.
agree with Alex. So that we're in compliance.
Well, that's the question, right? Because if
Timing of this particular policy is urgent that we get this passed as soon as possible. I mean, really, we've been out of compliance with our graduation requirements for a few years.
So I think if we approve the first reading, and then if the policy subcommittee within the next month or so can meet, mark up with any suggestions, and then we have those updates for the next.
I wonder if we could meet with the administration as the policy subcommittee.
Sure.
Or the policy subcommittee could meet with the administration. Sorry about that.
Would you like to do that
And at least
before?
we could approve this first one.
So would you like to do that before we approve the first reading?
Approve the first reading first? I mean,
If you entertained a motion to approve the first meeting with the caveat that it would be pursuant to the second reading would be pursuant to the policy committee reviewing first reading, that would probably cover all the bases.
okay.
Would you amend your motion, Sylvia?
Just withdraw it.
As he said it.
Well, then I'll make a motion that policy P3509, graduation policy, revised first reading, be presented and dispense with reading, and that it will be formally put in place, and the policy subcommittee will receive it and go over it and make any suggestions.
Can I reword that?
Go right ahead. You can shorten my lengthy.
First reading.
How about we go back to what you said for the beginning? Approved first reading, dispense with the reading.
Yes.
Contingent upon.
Fine.
Review by the
review
policy committee.
By the policy
subcommittee.
committee.
Second.
Thank you.
Motion second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. P3533, middle school promotion policy, first revised reading.
Motion to approve policy 3533, middle school promotion policy. First reading, dispense with reading. And this also,
Same language.
same language.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Approve FY 2020 BSD budget request.
Mr. Chair, motion to approve fiscal year 2020 Burrillville School Department budget request to be presented to the town council.
Second.
A motion and a second, discussion?
I feel that we should be approaching the town. The town's been very generous to us historically, and I think that my position on this is that we've got some tough times that we have to deal with, and I know we're going to have to do what we have to do internally. So my feeling is that we should be approaching the town with a little bit different figure than we have here. So I'll be, I think, objecting to the.
What do you, can I ask this question?
Sure.
What figure are you talking about?
If the number is correct, $1,814,056, which would represent an increase over last year's budget, equivalent to a 5.48% increase, which places the town in a precarious position. Having to accept that would mean, going ahead of the tax cap, and I think we're looking for a balance somewhere in there, and I think this presents a unique year, I think, for us. I think the things that are coming in terms of pathways and retaining students and increased state aid should return, I think, with enrollments, that this will be a short-term hiccup for us. But I just don't feel that approaching the town, requesting something that we're pretty confident they're not going to be able to accommodate, just doesn't make sense to me. I feel that we know we have some tough things that we have to deal with, and my position is that we would approach that in a way that respects sort of the town's financial capacity to handle it. So that's my justification for it.
I agree. Just as a follow-up, I think we're also confident that this won't be the final number. We're still working on a lot of the numbers, so we're still confident also at this time that it's not going to be the 5.48, and that'll be a lot closer. But we do have a workshop with the town council and the budget board coming up on January 29th. And at that time, we're going to have revised numbers, which we're pretty confident will be going down and not up. So that's just, what we're concerned. We don't want to limit ourselves before we even have the final numbers in. Is that a good way to state it?
Yes, but can I just make a clarifying statement?
Sure.
I thought at the budget workshop, we were going forward with this budget.
Because of what we have to cut it.
So we won't be adjusting it before a workshop.
We'll have options for the workshop.
Yes.
Correct.
Correct.
That's what we all agreed on.
But the budget that's passed tonight will be the budget that has to be presented at the joint meeting.
Right. And at that time,
As well
like,
as potential options.
it's just like the manager gives to the town council when it comes their time to vote on a budget. Dr. Salido will be giving options at that time, which we'll be able to explain in further detail to the right people what we have to cut to get to that. So this is what we need just to stay level. At that time, at the budget meeting, we'll explain in detail, we can get to a new number, but X, Y, Z will have to happen to get to a new number. So we did discuss that, that is what we agreed upon, but I understand what you want to highlight, your point.
Yeah,
Further
there was-
discussion?
There was a lot of discussion on that.
There was.
Budget meeting,
This basically is what we need in order to function next year. And I want Dr.
Function
Salido to
without having to make excessive cuts.
excessive cuts. Hurtful cuts.
Hurtful cuts.
Very hurtful.
So,
Anyone else? Alex?
so just to build off of that, so I think we discussed the importance of showing that number, but then also explaining that we have an understanding that that's an astronomical number also. So I think presenting both sides, I think, is what we discussed a lot in detail.
And I think we're just reiterating that. So,
The term that we used, that we kicked around was impact statement. So if this is cut, how does it impact the students, teachers?
Further questions? I have a motion and a second.
And I think our vote is what's remaining, yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Approve fiscal year 2020 BSD CIP request.
Motion to approve the fiscal year 2020 Burrillville School Department CIP request as presented.
Second.
Motion second, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approve fiscal year 2020 BSD rink budget request.
Mr. Chair, motion to approve fiscal year 2020 Burrillville School Department Levy Rink budget request.
Second.
Motion second, discussion? Having none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approve homeschool applications.
Mr.
Motion.
Chair, motion to approve homeschool application.
Second?
Motion is second. Any discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next item, 13, committee comments on agenda items. Anyone? Having none. Item 14, pending issues. We have no pending issues. Item 15,
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.